Welcome to Community Crypto on CoinDesk TV. I'm your host, Isaiah Jackson, and this week we are discussing how Nigeria can benefit from Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Before we dive in, here's an update on the latest crypto news and developments in Africa's largest economy.
If my government keeps banning Bitcoin, it doesn't really help because I've been able to, see what Bitcoin can do for me. And I have seen what Bitcoin has done for other people too. It's a way for us to escape the poverty lying in my country.
Africa's leading global cryptocurrency adoption, and it's markets like Nigeria.
Nigeria is the biggest market for global peer-to-peer lending platform, Paxful.
What the young peoples of Nigeria have done recently, they built their own alternative financial network using Bitcoin that the government had to stop it.
Earlier this year, the Central Bank of Nigeria ordered local banking institutions to stop dealing in cryptocurrencies and facilitating payments for crypto exchanges.
Like, I was really confused in the sense that I was like, do I, run away from this country so I can keep holding Bitcoin?
I got so many messages. I had to do a lot of interviews then actually as well about this. So a lot of people asked, how are things going? We heard cryptocurrency was banned in your country.
But this was not a new rule. There is no crypto trading ban for individuals.
Cryptocurrency was not banned in Nigeria, right? We need to re-emphasize it. Cryptocurrency was not banned. Banks were prohibited from performing or supporting cryptocurrency startup accounts, as simple as that.
However, this hasn't stopped crypto activity in Nigeria. Nwoko got into Bitcoin when he sold his dog for $125 worth of Bitcoin in 2016. He said this shock seems to have sparked a new interest in Bitcoin in the country.
The news actually caused a kind of wave that people started selling off. The crazy thing is that the federal government in my country, when they tend to bring out negative news about Bitcoin or bring out negative vibes about Bitcoin, it tends to reflect in a positive way, because when they banned Bitcoin, they actually made Bitcoin more popular.
The central bank later released a statement to clarify its policy. Now, it says it plans to launch a digital currency by year's end.
Nigerians have even adopted crypto more, and they are going against whatever challenges that they are facing currently to make sure that adoption keeps on improving.
I'm joined now by Alex Gladstein, Chief Strategy Officer for Human Rights Foundation, Nina Nwachukwu, Nigeria Regional Manager for Paxful, and Michael Ugu, aka Mr. Magic, CEO of Free Me Digital. Welcome to the show, guys.
How you doing?
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to have you all here. Absolutely. So let's jump right in.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Glad to have you. So let's jump right in. According to the latest stats, Paxful now has over 1.5 million users in Nigeria who trade over $1.5 billion in trades as of April 2021, making it a top platform on the market. So, Nina, I want to start with you. What steps has Paxful taken to facilitate these Bitcoin and cryptocurrency transactions?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. So, as you know, Paxful we've been around in Nigeria for the past 5 to 6 years now, and one of the things we have actually majored on is cryptocurrency education. Because when we came into the country, a lot of people did not, have good knowledge about cryptocurrency. Until recently, it wasn't really mainstream. One of the things we focused on is education. We've also focused on a lot of marketing activities, and apart from that, we've also worked on some. We have a foundation called Built with Bitcoin, and then this foundation we use it to fund to build schools and provide water and charity and CSR initiatives in communities that have never heard about Bitcoin, that don't have any idea what cryptocurrency is. But we have, through these channels, we've used it to create awareness. And then and we also work on local partnership. We've got local financial partners that we work with in the country, to facilitate more awareness on education. And we also hold webinars, workshops. We have this Paxful University coming up soon. We've invested a lot in education because we found that that's where a lot of people were lacking, because we have invested a lot in this aspect, and we've seen a very good turnover from this investment. And of course, as you can tell, we have about 1.5 million users from Nigeria alone trading daily. It's the work we've done, the groundwork we've laid so far over the years that has created these results for us so far.
Beautiful. And I love that you brought up the education portion of it, because that is very key. Once people are educated, usually in this market, they can go forward themselves. So I want to jump to you, Alex. Your work with the Human Rights Foundation has done pretty much the same thing as far as educating people on these technologies that can free them. So exactly how can Bitcoin help countries like Nigeria, and what sort of are some of the other tools that can be used to educate?
Sure. We've been researching people who have money issues around the world for the last 5 years, and Nigeria is an example of, sadly, people who don't have the same kind of way to connect to the international economy that, like, I might have in California, and people who obviously have to use a currency that depreciates very rapidly, not quite as rapidly as some others in the region. But certainly when you're looking at 15% inflation or 25, 30% food inflation, that creates a very difficult situation for a lot of people. So it's no surprise that they've turned to Bitcoin, a currency that has appreciated against goods and services over the last decade in a dramatic way, and a currency that can be sent without permission anywhere in the world. And you're watching people do some incredibly genius things to connect to the outside world through using Bitcoin, gift cards, exchanges like Paxful. Just the very fact that you can earn cash in, Washington, D.C., and go to the grocery store and buy a gift card and then send it by WhatsApp to someone in Lagos, like, in a minute, and then they can sell it for Bitcoin is crazy. Like, we can build these financial bridges around the world. And I think what a lot of people in America don't realize is the ability for Bitcoin not just to be a savings instrument, but also to be something that you can buy stuff with. I mean, with services like Bitrefill, I mean, when I send Bitcoin, and this can be done instantly with the Lightning Network right now, right, to someone in Lagos, I mean, they can use Bitrefill and buy whatever they want. They can buy a gift card for gas, electricity, mobile minutes, whatever. So, we can have this whole global economy outside of the legacy financial system, which has been keeping a lot of people down. So it's very exciting.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought up the word inflation, because in America, I always say we're pretty spoiled. We have a relatively stable currency, whereas in other countries, we have seen hyperinflation. So the medium of exchange of Bitcoin is very important. And not only the medium of exchange, but proliferating throughout other industries. So, for example, Michael, you are the CEO of Free Me Digital, which offers A&R, marketing, and publishing services for independent rights holders in Africa. So how can the use of Bitcoin help people in your industry as well?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we found very useful about Bitcoin and crypto in general was actually being able to facilitate payments across the continent. One of our biggest challenges was the massive fragmentation with the banking system across the African continent. It's not easy to send money to an artist in Congo from Nigeria, or in Ghana, which is literally next door, or South Africa. Even though we have some banks, some African banks in multiple territories, it's still quite difficult and quite expensive. So when we actually started using crypto and Bitcoin to send across the continent, we found that, costs were a lot cheaper. It's fast, it's transparent, and it's straightforward. I think one of the biggest challenges that we probably had is just literally adoption across the entire continent. In Nigeria, we are seeing great adoption. And then we're seeing people use Bitcoin for different things. It's not just about, as an inflation hedge. People are using it for payments, when they're making international payments to partners in China, partners in the USA, partners in the UK. Like, if you live and work in Lagos, in Nigeria, you'll find out that just using the banking system is very clunky, very difficult, very expensive, very slow, multiple delays, and it's massively frustrating. So just having access to the Bitcoin monetary network, it makes a world of difference for entrepreneurs like myself, so much so that I've invested into several, Bitcoin startups, focused on remittances, payments, and what have you. So it just using that payments network is just opened my eyes to the kind of like life-changing technology that Bitcoin is. I think I've heard in several spaces that, Bitcoin is actually freedom. Bitcoin is hope. It's actually, it's a massive, multiplier of wealth, and it helps people's lives in the urban areas as well as in the hinterland areas. And all you need is an internet connection and a mobile phone. So yeah, but I mean, even for me as an investor, it's massively important as that inflation hedge. And I think Alex is quite generous saying, 20%. I think in Nigeria right now, we're seeing inflation of like 500% on some food items. which is, I mean, the actual, it's quite scary to think about that, which is why I preach a lot about using Bitcoin. I pay my yearly staff bonuses in Bitcoin to my team in Lagos, and I think that it's changed the lives of a lot of the staff under my care. So yeah, a lot of challenges, but Bitcoin is helping us fix quite a few of them. And yeah, we are facing issues with regulation and with the CBN. But I think that that there's a lot of politics involved. It's not just Nigeria, and I always tell that to Nigerians. This is a global thing. There's a lot of conversations going on at that political governmental level. They're champions and they're people against it, right? And I think eventually, once we understand the true power that it has to, what it can unlock for society, I definitely think that governments will have no choice. And even if they're against it, we're seeing things change globally. What's happening in El Salvador, we're seeing other countries in South America embrace it. And I think it's a matter of time before governments in Africa start really looking at what are the pros as opposed to what are the cons of Bitcoin, and actually adopting a Bitcoin standard.
Right. And you said a sentence that I often say when I meet friends and they're like, what about regulators? I always tell them they don't have a choice. It's just a waiting game for them to catch up. So I'm glad you actually stated that, because Bitcoin is freedom. You can't stop it. And I want to talk to you, Nina, because of the unofficial ban or fake ban that they had in Nigeria, a lot of people thought it would go away. But in fact, transactions increased and the price of Bitcoin increased. So do you think these regulations will impact a company like Paxful as an on-ramp?
Yeah, so I just want to first of all reemphasize again that the regulation does not stop cryptocurrency trading. It only stops financial institutions from holding bank accounts for cryptocurrency companies who wants to use the services to fund their transactions. So for us, it doesn't quite affect, regulation doesn't quite affect us, because the central bank has come out outrightly to say that cryptocurrency trading can continue. And Paxful is a P2P marketplace, meaning that's a peer-to-peer marketplace where individuals, crypto enthusiasts or investors or, just curious newbies can, come to the platform by themselves, sign up, create an account, figure out, the flow, figure out, choose who they want to trade with. And it's on the personal level, not Paxful funding any, pushing any of that. Really create the escrow service to enable those transactions. So as directly said, since central bank's announcement, Nigeria, when we are told we can't, do something or use something, that's when we get more interest in that particular thing. So since the announcement by central bank, we've seen increased interest, increased trading. It's been mind-blowing, and I don't think it's slowing down anytime soon. And I really hope the central bank rethink or reconsider their stand on cryptocurrency, because Nigeria's youth right now, teeming population, a lot of people are suffering from unemployment, people are losing their jobs. In fact, during the peak of COVID-19 last year, 2020, I think around Q2, cryptocurrencies trading surged up to about $3.2 million in Nigeria alone. And during that, a lot of people were losing their jobs, lots of people were stuck at home, people were looking for alternative means of source of income. So we actually hope that the central bank rethink and reconsider their position right now, because this bandwagon that has started, this fast-moving train, is not stopping anytime soon. So definitely, cryptocurrency transactions has increased. I think it has increased about 23%, and I think we're making projections that might hit 36 to 50% before the end of this year, if this regulation keeps going on. And I think one of the things that has happened is, since the B2C businesses can no longer trade directly due to loss of their bank accounts, more people are looking for P2P platforms. More people are trading on WhatsApp groups. More people are trading on Telegram, on social media, basically with their friends or family who have some Bitcoin they want to sell or buy. So and unfortunately, I think that's even driving cryptocurrency on the ground. We know right now in Nigeria we have a parallel market for dollars. And you have the central bank rates for dollars. So I think that's what's going to end up happening with Bitcoin. We might have spiral market rates where we can't actually track the true value that is being traded. The government is going to end up losing the handle on the actual value of transactions happening in the country. So I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon.
It's not stopping, and that, you know, they can't regulate it away. And Alex, you actually talked about this, how the kids, the younger people are so creative with keeping this industry going. So do you think there should be more of a focus on the younger people, not only in Nigeria, but around the world, in order to get this moving? Because it seems as though, you know, the older people that are in control, they're trying to stop this train. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, well, like you said, it's there's very little that the establishment can do to stop this. The overwhelming majority of Nigerians are under the age of 30. This is the same demographic trend all around the world, and young people are much more mobile savvy. They understand that they don't need to go into a bank to move money around. I just think this idea of how Bitcoin impacts remittances is so important to understand for people who live in the United States and may not be aware of the problems that folks have moving money back and forth. But when you consider that, according to the World Bank, the average $200 remittance sent from the United States to a country like Nigeria has an 8 to 9% fee on it. That's average. So that means like half of those remittances are way higher than 8, 9%. Then you look at an app developed by Nigerian entrepreneurs at Bitcoins called Zencash Africa. And this is a way that I can send Bitcoin to any bank account in Nigeria, like in minutes, with basically no fee. Like that's like real innovation. And the other thing is dinosaur technology. So, you know, the dinosaurs are going to go extinct, and we're all going to move to like the better money, the more innovative money that works in a faster, more globally connected way. And, you know, you look at a country like Nigeria, which has 6, 7, 8% of the GDP in remittances. I mean, we're talking about a country as a nation that earns $25-30 billion a year from remittances, and it's non-trivial to save, you know, whatever it ends up being, 7, 8, 9, 10% of that. That is non-trivial. I mean, that is like, you know, a very large amount of money that we're going to save by moving to just a new technology. So I think people in the United States who just, you know, it's easy for them to use Venmo and PayPal, and like they never have any issues with their money. It's worth thinking about the struggles that people face when they have family abroad and they're trying to make a $500 payment, and it's not so easy. So I'm excited for the future and obviously for the young people to lead this revolution.
All right. And remittances is a huge industry. And Michael, I want you to hit on this. As far as remittances, one thing that used to be the problem was when you did send money via Bitcoin, they couldn't use Bitcoin. They had to, you know, either convert it or, you know, pay a small fee, which is fine. But at some point, Michael, do you think Nigeria or maybe the Africa Union as a whole can move towards a El Salvador standard where Bitcoin could be legal tender? Or do you not foresee that because of controls? Let us know what you think, Michael.
I think anything is possible. I think that, you know, right now, you know, Bitcoin as it is, you know, sometimes when the network gets clogged, you know, transactions can be quite expensive, but I'm really interested in developments on the Lightning Network. And I think that, you know, with you know, further implementation on that network and actually further adoption there could be a lot of opportunities. I think that it is possible to use Bitcoin as a payment standard. And some companies and some schools do now accept Bitcoin as payment. I think any forward-thinking organization will realize that, look, I can actually exchange this Bitcoin for value. Or, you know, companies who, like my company, you know, I accept Bitcoin because I see Bitcoin as a treasury asset, right? So I'd rather even accept Bitcoin over Naira, to be quite honest. But I think it's going to take, you know, another generation of entrepreneurs to actually drive that forward. I think, you know, going back to what you said about this being youth-led, it's going to be pretty hard for like a 60-year-old CEO of a bank or of a, you know, a traditional company in Nigeria to start accepting Bitcoin. But I think that the younger generation of entrepreneurs, you know, it's possible. But then again, we go back to regulation. I think that, you know, what we've seen in El Salvador has been government led. And I think that's the big difference. Well, obviously, not necessarily government led, but I'll say, you know, the government has adopted, you know, what's happening on ground and actually supported and pushing it and made it legal tender. So I think that's obviously going to be a big part of whether, you know, shops and companies and, you know, individuals can accept Bitcoin as payment. But I think individually, we're already seeing that happen. We're seeing more and more, individuals, more and more companies actually accept Bitcoin. And because I'm in the space in Nigeria, you know, I'm constantly researching and constantly asking, oh, do you accept Bitcoin? And as people are getting to understand the technology, they're starting to accept it. But that, like I said, is very individual. It'll be great to see it move, you know, countrywide or continent-wide. Because I mean, as I've said before, it is, it's pretty difficult. People seem to think of Africa as one homogeneous entity when it's not. It's 54 very different, diverse countries, cultures, different languages, tribes, different financial systems. And I think that even, in the ECOWAS region, or even looking at, ACFA, which is, the African Free Trade Zone Act, I think that, there are going to be difficulties, across the banking landscape. But I think adopting something like Bitcoin would obviously ease some of the potential payment issues across the continent. We've seen how easily you can facilitate trade using Bitcoin. And I think that if central banks do accept it, and the AU does support it, it will take away that key monetary challenge. While we can face other challenges like logistics across the continent, I mean, that's still another big issue. Air, rail, road. If we can, hit the nail on the head and get the finance right and get the currency conversions right and use Bitcoin as that settlement standard, it will be excellent for the continent. But I mean, that for me right now, that's probably a little bit more of a utopian way of thinking. I don't see that happening today. I don't see that happening tomorrow. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a little bit of time. But I could be wrong. I didn't necessarily see what was happening in El Salvador happen. So I could be wrong, and I hope that I'm very wrong. And I do hope that we start seeing some more innovative, forward-thinking governments on the continent. But I think what we're seeing now is more of, governments being a little bit more defensive. I think the Nigerian government, the Ghanaian government, even the South African government, the governments in North Africa, like Egypt, we're seeing more defensive moves. I think that, countries like the US, we are seeing a little bit more innovation. We're seeing, backing from certain senators, certain House of Representatives, even like, the mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez, we're seeing, support, on that level there. So we're seeing forward-thinking politicians and bureaucrats actually supporting and understanding what Bitcoin is about. I think eventually we'll start to see that. But it goes back to the conversation around education. It's not just educating the users, it's educating the regulators. And I think that, once we start to see more education, more understanding around the system and the benefits of it, the potentials of, Bitcoin being accepted as payment across the continent become more likely.
Oh, yeah. And Alex, I want to ask you this. We're both, in the U.S. Michael stated he would rather accept Bitcoin than a Naira. Do you see a day where business owners say to themselves, I would rather have Bitcoin than the U.S. dollar because of different factors?
Yeah, I think that day is inevitable. I mean, already you're seeing in some sectors people wanting to sell their home for Bitcoin. They don't want the dollars.
Yes.
There are a lot of people who prefer to receive Bitcoin. I think that in the next decade, this is inevitable. You're going to start seeing people even offer a discount. They will say, if you pay me in Bitcoin, you can save 10%. Like, people are going to want to be incentivizing the use of Bitcoin, and at the end of the day, you have these two competing forces in economics. You have this thing called Gresham's law, which says that, the bad money drives out the good. And that was the idea that Bitcoin would always just be this kind of savings instrument. Nobody would actually use it. Well, the thing that breaks that is this idea of merchants actually wanting to be paid in Bitcoin. And you see this in the American athletic industry, where people like Russ Okung are saying, pay me in Bitcoin, right? So, over time, merchants and people who provide services for others and people who sell things to others are going to want to get paid in Bitcoin, not fiat. That's the same in Nigeria or the United States or China or anywhere else. And that's just a global trend we'll be watching over the next decade.
Oh, yeah. And Alex, you stated the pay me in Bitcoin with Russell Okung this morning. Tom Brady, he just came out, partnered with FTX. He's getting his bonus in crypto. So I believe, as more bigger names say it, I'm with you there. I've always said the medium of exchange era starts when business owners give discounts, because I think people will be so desperate to get Bitcoin, they'll start giving 70 to 80% discounts. I even think governments will give discounts or give tax breaks for paying in Bitcoin because they'll be so desperate to get it. So if that day comes, we can look back and say we predicted it. But so Nina, I want to jump to you here as far as in the global landscape of how Paxful's company works. Do you see Nigeria leading or continue to lead, or do you think there are other countries coming up that are using the platform just as much?
I don't foresee any country taking over from Nigeria right now, because there's only a small fraction, a very tiny fraction of Nigerians have keyed into cryptocurrency, and the awareness is increasing every day. So I don't see that slowing down anytime soon, to be honest. So initially it used to be, US, China, and Nigeria. Now Nigeria has taken over China. See that slowing down anytime soon, because just for the fact that Bitcoin is now mainstream. After the October 2020 protest last year, it got people very, very interested, and only a small fraction has keyed in already. So it's not going down anytime soon. We're going to have more people jumping in, especially because even businesses
Yes.
we earlier started to accept Bitcoin. And I think I heard a story. One of my colleagues was telling me an Uber driver, opted to accept Bitcoin payments when he heard him on the phone talking about cryptocurrency. We're like, oh, Oga, can you pay me in Bitcoin, please? I want technology and learn about it. So the awareness is there. I don't think it's stopping anytime soon.
Oh yeah, and the use cases there, like I want you to get into this, Michael. During the NSARS, the actual protest that you just stated, some people or most of the protesters were unable to use bank accounts. How do you feel about that? Them being able to use Bitcoin instead and continue forward?
Yeah, I mean that was super helpful. I was part of the protests in Lagos. I mean, it was there was a lot of emotion around the whole police brutality issues that we face out in Nigeria as young people, and I think that the organizers were actually hamstrung when the banks closed their accounts on order from the federal government. And having Bitcoin as that plan B was super effective, and it just showed how you can actually organize outside of official systems. I mean, I think, and that's what Bitcoin was invented for, right? In terms of being completely, it's immutable. It's transparent. It's not, you can't suppress the Bitcoin network. You can transfer value like that. So that actually did help the NSARS, the core organizers of the NSARS movement, and it did help because I think during the time they were paying for stuff. I mean, legal aid, hospital bills. And various things that happened during the NSARS movement needed funds. And I think just having access to Bitcoin just allowed the movement to continue. And I think if it's like any kind of like movement, if you cut the financial flow, the chances are is that you've killed that movement, right? Because you can
exactly.
organize as much as you want without finances. We all know that things would be abruptly stopped. So I think that helped it go on. And I think that, it's demonstrated that, the power of Bitcoin. And I think till today, obviously the federal government hold that against Jack Dorsey because right now, Twitter's banned in Nigeria. And, we feel obviously it definitely stems from that. And the federal government have not hidden the disdain for Jack Dorsey's support and endorsement of the NSARS movement, because he was key there. I mean, he really supported the movement, let people know that, you can pay by Bitcoin, even supported himself. So I think it does, and I think across the world, where you have, it's not just in Nigeria we're facing issues of police brutality, or we want to stand for something, stand against the government on certain things. I think it goes back to Bitcoin being freedom, and I think that's definitely one thing that does scare governments that have potential dictatorial tendencies. I think that it's one thing that will potentially keep them in check. And once they start to understand that with this technology that's hope, and with this technology that is freedom, it won't be as easy as yesterday to muzzle movements or muzzle the opposition. And I think we have an election coming up in 2023, and I'd like to see how Bitcoin will potentially be used by the opposition, because we know what it's like in developing economies, where you have the party in power will use the complete government apparatus to scatter any kind of opposition. And I think just having that freedom unlocked, so thank you to Satoshi Nakamoto, for pioneering this. And, we're going to do our best to make sure that, we do the right thing with this technology. So yeah, definitely NSARS was a good demonstration of what can happen and how you can keep things going on, even in the face of darkness.
Oh yeah, and I believe that NSARS set the stage for other social groups to do the same. And Alex, do you think in America we should copy their template, and that the social groups that protest should direct their energy towards Bitcoin?
Yeah, absolutely. I've kind of found the general human rights movement's lack of interest in Bitcoin really puzzling from a global sense. I mean, obviously in Nigeria, people figured it out really quickly. And in many other countries, they figured it out quickly too. In Belarus, the people are trying to peacefully get rid of their dictator. And, Bitcoin has been probably the main way of getting financing to striking workers there over the last year. If you look at Russia, the opposition leader who's now, in prison, essentially, Navalny, his campaign over the last few years has relied on Bitcoin as well. And you can just go through countless examples of how opposition leaders in different countries and investigative journalists and human rights activists have been supported in this way. But in the West, we're slow. Amnesty International has never said a word about Bitcoin. I just find that to be totally puzzling. It's such a powerful human rights tool, where basically people can say, whatever, the government, you guys can keep doing whatever you want. We're going to be over here with our new money that we control. So go ahead, inflate it away, or do whatever you want with it. We're going to be using our money that is user controlled and that cannot be manipulated by any corporation or government. So I just love that it gives people an option. I hope that, and I'm trying to work towards helping nonprofits in America understand this as well. And I think it's inevitable that people start realizing, what a powerful human rights tool it is. I mean, we saw over the last decade, people understand how important tools like Signal are for preserving privacy. That took a while, okay, but now we're there. People get it. So it's going to be another decade, of people just learning and understanding how important this tool is for them and their family and their communities and the causes they care about. So I'd be
Absolutely.
Looking to help push that however we can.
Absolutely. And I love it for Nigeria moving so fast, understanding that this is a survival tool and Bitcoin opens up that world. I hate that we have to end here, but thank you all for coming on. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Nina. And thank you, Michael, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
That's it for this episode of Community Crypto. Nigeria will be the first stop of Crypto State by CoinDesk, a virtual event series that aims to connect with local communities of investors and developers in international markets, as well as tell the global story of the future of money. That's happening on July 8th in partnership with Luno, so be sure to sign up right now on coindesk.com/crypto state.